Greetings, welcome. It is Erick Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program today, I would be happy to have you. So let me just want to reiterate a point before I move on to something else. It was kind of funny. So this morning in my morning email to people, I used a phrase Rush Limbaugh didn't coin. Somebody somewhere on the internet first used it. I can't remember who. But Rush Limbaugh pointed it out one time and kind of embraced the idea of it. Donnie from Queens, the president of the United States, Donald Trump. Donnie from Queens. Donald Trump, you have to sometimes understand, is like a caller to a talk radio program. Donnie from Queens calling in. And he lacks impulse control. He's got something in his head. He firmly believes it. He thinks it's a great idea. He's going to run with it. He's not there for diplomacy. He's not there for niceties. If he believes it's a good idea, he's going to run with it. He's going to get it out there on stage. He's going to see how it plays with the crowd. He's going to see how it resonates. It's like a caller to a talk radio program who has a passionate belief on something, and he doesn't talk with the diplomatic niceties of a career politician. He doesn't talk in the way that the diplomats of the State Department wish he would talk. He talks like a real American. He talks like Donnie from Queens. I said that this morning. Donnie from Queens had no impulse control on the Canadian election and helped cost the Conservatives the election. And I'm going to cancel my subscription. This is so disrespectful. No. It's an accurate characterization of a man who kind of leads with his passion, whether you like it or not. Trump leads with his passion. He lacks impulse control on these things. If he firmly believes it, he's going to say it. He's going to get it out there. And the reaction to it is going to tell him whether it's a good idea or not. So the Canadians have their election. The Conservatives are riding a huge anti-Trudeau wave. Along comes Donald Trump, who says, you know what Canada should do? We should just unite North America. Canada should be the 51st state. And he starts calling Trudeau, who he doesn't much care for, Governor Trudeau, instead of Prime Minister Trudeau, laughs about him thinking he's Prime Minister, and the Canadian nationalist zeal fires up. Doesn't help Justin Trudeau, but does help the Canadian Liberals, who, once they replaced Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Conservatives had nothing left to give them. So the larger point here is that, yes, Donald Trump played a role. You talk to the Conservatives in Canada, you talk to the Liberals in Canada, you talk to the outside people who study it, who focus group voters across Canada. Yes, Donald Trump stirred up a nationalist sentiment in Canada that helped the Liberals get reelected. But concurrent to that, the Conservatives' message was about Justin Trudeau, and he left. And they never had a pivot. They never had a response even to Donald Trump other than leave us alone. And they needed to come up with a better strategy. So, yeah, did Trump play a role? Yes, but the Conservatives are to blame, not Donald Trump, because the Conservatives have the massive political operation in Canada. They should have been able to pivot. They should have been able to find a way around it, and they should not have built the entirety of their campaign around tossing Justin Trudeau. You know, the Canadian economy is underperforming every other economy in the Western world. The GDP growth in Canada is pathetic. Less than 1% since 2015. They could have had a message there. Blaming Donald Trump gives the Conservatives in Canada a way out of having to assess what else they did wrong. And I can just tell you as an outside observer and student of politics, the biggest thing they did wrong was they made it all about Justin Trudeau. Once Trudeau was gone, they never were able to pivot well to be able to campaign. Did they have a headwind against Donald Trump? Yes, they couldn't figure out how to navigate it. Don't blame Trump for that. Yeah, Donnie from Queens lacks impulse control. When he has an idea in his head, he wants to tell it to people. I thought it was kind of funny. It's never going to happen. We don't want it to happen. He thinks it's a good idea. I think it's a bad idea. But it's not his fault. The Conservatives in Canada, with a bunch of professional political strategists, couldn't figure out how to strategize around a president of the United States. So sorry, Conservatives in Canada. I wish you had won, but maybe blame yourselves more than you blame Donald Trump. And I do have a sneaking suspicion, by the way, that the Canadian Conservative leader, Pierre, what's his name, Pulver or whatever, played very well with conservative Americans on social media who are not experts in Canadian elections and convinced themselves this is the man, he's going to do it, what a great job. And we are detached from the actual realities of the Canadian economy and the Canadian political system to really have a sense of whether or not he was the best candidate or not. Now, I will move on because I do want to talk about the tariffs a little bit more. There was conversation at the White House today with Scott Bessent. I played you some of the audio earlier. Carolyn Levitt was there with Bessent, and they're a little bit upset, among other things, with Amazon, in part because Amazon has decided that they are going to tell people how much the tariffs actually cost them. Y'all, I got to be honest with you. Don't shoot the messenger. Amazon actually did, when Bidenomics hit, put up an inflation tracker on all of its goods. You don't have to believe me. You can go to Amazon.com, doing it right now, and you can see if you click through to mini goods, it will actually show you the price increase. The increase, the savings. Did the price go up? Did the price go down? Look at that, Philip. Your Celsius price has gone down 15%. They started doing this during Bidenomics. They started doing this as a measure of inflation. It's just makes some sense. However, you should also know Amazon, which did this during the Biden administration, showing price increases and price decreases, has said they actually have no intention of doing this. There is a report from Punchbowl News in D.C. that Amazon is going to add a line showing the tariffs. Amazon says for its main Amazon site, that is never a consideration. Amazon said it would only appear on a new Temu-like section of Amazon Haul shopping site that launched 6 months ago. The team that runs the low-cost Amazon Haul store has considered the idea of listing import charges on certain products. Teams discuss ideas all the time. This was never a consideration on the main Amazon site. So Amazon shooting it down for the main site. I've never even heard of Amazon Haul. I guess I'll have to look at it. It's the cheapy imported from China side, I guess, to compete with Temu, which is a garbage site to begin with. But even if they did it, y'all, I thought we wanted price transparency. Conservatives, including Donald Trump, when California decided to increase the minimum wage, conservatives cheered on the businesses in California that put in a line on receipts saying how much more the price would be because of the fees and wage rules in California. And conservatives thought it was a good idea. Conservatives have repeatedly thought it was a good idea for as much price transparency as possible in all aspects of life. When companies note that because of a government fee, a government tax, or a government inconvenience, they're having to raise prices, and here's how much that includes. But suddenly we're opposed to it because it's the tariffs. If anything, it's Amazon would be being transparent to the cost of the tariffs, and it's the White House that doesn't want that to be shown. And yet Amazon, contrary to what Carolyn Levitt said, actually did this during the Biden administration. They introduced a new feature. You go to Amazon yourself today, and you can see how much prices have gone up or down on each item. But Here's also part of the reality. If the White House bats 1,000 and gets all of its trade deals before the tax cuts, it can't use the money from the trade deals to offset the tax cuts. They got to drag out the deals. India, however, may very well be the first one up. This is Scott Bessent. Now, look, they can't do any of that if they don't string the tariffs along. They got to say the tariffs are coming and the revenue is coming. They say there's going to be a deal with India. It's probably going to be the first deal with India. And but they've got to string it out because they need the calculations for reconciliation. So I get that part of the plan. That actually makes some sense to me. Claim that you're getting the revenue from the tariffs, but also keep in mind that if this goes on too long, which is why the Republicans now want to get the tax plan done by Memorial Day, because there will be economic fallout if the tariffs last too long. If there's economic fallout, that could cost the Republicans the majority in a year. And then you know what the Democrats will do if they have the House? They will hold the president's tax plan hostage. These things have to be considered. And to his credit, Scott Bessent, very smart guy, is considering those things. But I got to tell you, the White House reaction on Amazon, and again, Amazon is denying it, but I think the White House should want transparency on this. I think we all deserve transparency. What are we paying? By the way, Amazon is actually saying that it's going to absorb most of the costs on tariffs as a competitive practice against its competitors, including Walmart, which can't afford to do that because Walmart has physical stores, lower profit margin. Amazon is going to eat a lot of the cost of the tariffs itself so that you're actually not going to pay as much at Amazon as you do everywhere else. It's going to put Amazon in a competitive advantage. And you know who that's going to hurt? It's going to hurt the small business. You'd rather support the small business, but now the small business has to pay the tariff, and Amazon's going to eat the tariff to keep the costs low. Where are you going to shop? Are you really? Now, what about your neighbor? Is your neighbor really going to shop at the small business too and pay more? Are you really sure? It's another fallout from the tariffs. There's a great capitalism class everybody in the White House should take from Hillsdale College. Go to erickforhillsdale.com, E-R-I-C-K, erickforhillsdale.com. You go there, you take the class, you get a certificate of completion from Hillsdale College, you never pay a penny. They're great classes. They've got 40 to choose from literature to math to economics to English to political science to philosophy. You can learn about the founding of the country and citizenship, the Constitutional Convention, the colonial era, Athens and Sparta, which is a great one. Take the capitalism class, take basic economics. You can even take the basic chemistry class, which is actually really cool. I started watching that. I haven't finished that one. I'll get back to it. But the capitalism one was a great reminder. They're completely free. You're never going to pay a penny. Hillsdale College was founded in 1833 in southern Michigan. Their mission was to find Americans where they were and educate them, not indoctrinate them, but educate them. And now they're finding you over radio, through the internet. You go to erickforhillsdale.com. You do the classes at your own pace. They're each divided into small episodes with great professors. At the end of it, you get a certificate of completion. You never pay a penny. erickforhillsdale.com. Oh. Hello there. It is Erick Erickson. Just got a text from my buddy Victor. He says, I can tell you toy and plush companies who sell wholesale to retailers are listing the tariff charge. Some of them are showing a line item tariff column showing very clearly the cost is being passed to the individual. I'll still take Trump over any Democrat, but they need to get the tariff deals done and done fast. The Republicans need to get off their tails and get the tax cuts done. Yeah, and again, I have come to a conclusion here that I think is inescapable. I think that part of the president's plan is drag the tariffs out so that the supposed revenue can be used for the tax cuts. And then once the tax cut deal is passed, he can cancel the tariffs. Now, the problem is that's going to explode the deficit, and the budget hawks in Congress are going to freak out. But the tax cuts will stimulate the economy. So you'll have a stimulative effect on the economy, and you won't have tariffs. And that may skate us by a recession. And I think most people would take that. But I don't know what you do about the. I honestly, we're going to have a fiscal crisis here soon, given the growth of the national debt and the constant deficits. We got to do something, but can't do anything with those unless you're willing to fix entitlements. Nobody in Washington wants to fix entitlements, so I don't know. Above my pay grade. Well, y'all, I gotta mention one note here in Georgia that all of you actually will want to know about. There's going to be a gubernatorial election here next year. Brian Kemp is term limited, our current governor. The Republicans have Burt Jones, Lieutenant Governor, Chris Carr, the Attorney General, both running, unless one of them decides to run for the Senate instead against John Ossoff. Well, Keisha Crimeway Bottoms has decided to run for governor of Georgia. Now, those of you nationally are familiar with Keisha Crimeway Bottoms. She was the mayor of Atlanta when the riots started after George Floyd. She sided with the rioters over the police. Many of the police walked off the job. Little girl got killed. Stores were burned. It came out she hadn't been paying her water bill for some time. And then the Biden administration hired her. They're going to make her an ambassador and looked at her for a minute as maybe a vice presidential nominee. Wound up putting her in the White House. She did not last there long, and now she's come back to run for the state of Georgia. For historic perspective, Atlanta had not had as much destruction done to it since Sherman marched through until Keisha Crimeway Bottoms became mayor. Then you started having hooligans randomly shooting joggers in nice parts of Atlanta, and the northern part of the city decided it wanted to secede. Crime got so bad, the police ran away. I mean, she was siding with the looters and the rioters instead of the police. And this woman has the arrogance and audacity to think she would be a good mayor of Georgia. And I say mayor of Georgia because she doesn't have the skill set to be governor, even though that's what she's running for. You might as well bring Sherman back and burn down the whole state if Keisha gets elected. Good gracious. I never like, I look at people running for office. And I do this on both sides of the aisle, by the way. It's not just Democrats, but I'm like, who thought that was a good idea? I mean, sometimes you get it wrong. Like I didn't think Trump could win in 2016. Look at that. But I mean, most times it's just really obvious to everyone other than that person that no, you are not qualified to run for that office. And it's not about party. But in her case, my gosh, what a destructive mayoral tenure she had. She had to be promoted up to the White House to get her out of Atlanta just to save it from being burned down again. Oh, yeah. When we come back, the Democrats want to burn down America now to protest Donald Trump. Greetings, America. It's Erick Erickson here across the fruited plain. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be absolutely delighted to have you. I want to give you a heads up. This is rather important. Starting tomorrow, you're going to be able to buy tickets to the Not Safe for Radio show. Those of you who wish to come hang out with me in Atlanta, there are lots and lots and lots of stories I cannot tell on radio. They're not appropriate for radio, not safe for radio. But I'm going to take the stage of the Egyptian Ballroom at the Fox Theater in Atlanta, Georgia on July 12th. And I will tell those, and all the money will go to charity, all proceeds. I got to find a couple more sponsors to help me pull that off. I've got some great ones. Got to get a couple more, make this happen. And but I want you on stage. I want you to come hang out with me. This will be the first time my wife and kids, my sisters will be there. And it's going to be fun. Now, some of the stories are stories I just can't tell on the radio because my mom listens and she'd probably be a little horrified. But most of them, they're just not appropriate for radio. I would love for you to come though, and tickets will go on sale tomorrow. I'll remind you, then get ready. I'm not getting rich off this thing. All the money's going to great nonprofit, and more on that later. But just stay tuned for tomorrow. If you want to get a head start and beat the crowd, if you go to my Instagram feed today, you'll be able to get an advanced ticket link. If you're on, if you're a Substack subscriber, you already have the link ahead of everybody else. We've got to talk about the Democrats and old Governor Pritzker. Governor Pritzker of Illinois wants everybody to go out and take to the streets. Pritzker is he's decided that he wants to stir up the crowd and take the actions, get people up, and get them motivated. He wants them engaged. Here is Governor Pritzker talking the other day to Jen Psaki. Right, because Trump's the Nazi. This is actually the moment in his speech. You know, there's a problem here with what Pritzker is doing. Democrats can't help themselves. They get violent every time you tell them to do this. Remember, it was in the first Trump administration they chased Sarah Sanders out of a restaurant. They showed up at the houses of members of Trump's cabinet and would keep them up at night chanting. They got violent on Republicans across the country. There was a video the other day of a guy who wore a Make America Great Again hat on a plane, and a woman caused a scene on the plane. Did y'all see this video? I can't play it. There's so much profanity. It would just be like a 2-minute long beep. This woman went nuts because a guy was on a plane. It wasn't even Spirit Airlines. She lost her mind because the man who was going to be sitting next to her was wearing a Make America Great Again hat. You know, I don't have one of those hats. I'm not a political cap wearer. I wear golf caps on the golf course, and that's about it, or Braves caps to Braves games. But I just thought, man, if I could wear one of these caps and incite people like that and keep them from sitting next to, I might just start wearing one. This woman went nuts. Democrats have a history of turning violent in the streets. I mean, again, let's go back to Keisha Crimewave, who wants to be the governor of Georgia. She let Atlanta burn down. The first time a politician has let the city burn down since Sherman marched through, because she wanted to be on the side of the rioters. She wanted to be on the side of the violence. The Democrats don't moderate themselves on this. You've got the governor of Illinois calling for Democrats to take to the streets. Republicans cannot know a moment of peace. They have to understand we will fight their cruelty. Now, he says with every megaphone and microphone, but the Democrats are, we will fight their cruelty. You're inciting violence. You know well that if Donald Trump said something similar, the Democrats would be all over CNN and MSNBC crying about scary Mr. Trump causing violence. I mean, look how they blame Donald Trump for the insurrection. What did Donald Trump do? He said, walk down to the Capitol. They stormed down to the Capitol. They broke windows and got into the building. Somebody opened a door. What's her name? Ashley, what's her name? Tried to climb through the window, got shot in the process. They stole stuff from Nancy Pelosi's office, carried out a podium, among other things. A lot of people went to jail. It was all Donald Trump's fault. Donald Trump incited this. Is this not J.D. Pritzker inciting Democrats to have their own January 6th or whatever it is? Is this not J.D. Pritzker encouraging Democrats to get violent in the streets? If it was Donald Trump, that's what the Democrats would say. But the media is always willing to give the Democrats a pass on things they would never give the Republicans a pass for. The media is always willing to give Democrats a chance to stir up violence and then say, well, it wasn't really them. We can't actually blame them for what individuals did in the streets. It's a fiery but mostly peaceful protest after all. Again, and this is a very important point, if it was a Republican, everybody on CNN and MSNBC, the op-ed and editorialists of the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal even, the Washington Post would be admonishing the president for his rhetoric, stirring up violence. But Pritzker gets a pass from everybody other than the Wall Street Journal, which called him out. The Wall Street Journal did. They called him out. Democrats have a habit of stirring up violence. You had people, look, you told the Supreme Court justices they would reap the whirlwind over repealing Roe v. Wade, and guys showed up to try to assassinate Brett Kavanaugh. Twice now, there have been men attempting to assassinate Donald Trump already, and the Democrats blamed him. He provoked it. He got what he deserved. That basically was their line. You see, here's what's going on here, though. Pritzker wants to run for president. He wants to run for president of the United States, and he's trying to find a way to distinguish himself. So he's going to be the Democrat to go violent. Now, Pritzker's a billionaire, not exactly a man of the people. Pritzker's a billionaire. He's one of the wealthiest men in America. Got into the governor's mansion in Illinois. The state is on the verge of collapse financially. It's a bankrupt, one-party, corrupt state that he presides over, but he thinks he can transition from there to the White House with his billions of dollars that he can buy himself into the White House, which is kind of funny when you think about it. When you've got all these Democrats who run about too much money in politics, here comes a billionaire. They're going to be perfectly happy for him to stir up violence against Republicans, but they'll probably actually reject him on the way to the Democratic primary because he's one of those dirty billionaires. But if he gets people in the streets fighting for a time, they'll be okay. They'll be okay. Because the Democrats want action. You have environmentalists out there burning things down, sabotaging railroads, trying to stop coal trains. You have the peace protesters out there harassing the military, the anti-cop crusaders shooting at police officers. Now they want the Democrats in the streets doing it generally. Democrats are turning violent. I've been warning you guys for a while now. Democrats inevitably, historically, turn violent. They're going to do it now. And they're going to be led now by the politicians. In the past, the Democratic politicians kind of took a hands-off role, said, well, we're okay, but we're going to distance ourselves from this, and we're going to say, tut, don't be violent, differences of opinion, got to have differences of opinion, but get in their faces. You know, it was Barack Obama who told his supporters to take guns to knife fights, to get in their neighbors' faces and argue, told Hispanics that Republicans were the enemy. Oh, they don't like it when you bring that up. He was just speaking in metaphors. That's what they said. No, Barack Obama himself inspired Democrats to violence. Just a couple of years ago during the Biden administration, the New York Times was praising a book from a guy who wrote a book on how to sabotage pipelines to save the environment. But there's something else here too. If you really and you truly believe Donald Trump is the second coming of Hitler, don't you need to take action? If you really believe he's the second coming of Hitler, if you really believe he's a fascist, don't you need to take the actions to stop him, to do whatever it takes to stop Hitler? I mean, fantasies have been written about people building time machines to go kill Hitler, baby Hitler. Some say, oh, you should never kill baby Hitler. Why not? But now they can do it to Trump. They can stop the Republicans. All they have to do is embrace the Second Amendment, which they're not very good at embracing. But, I mean, if it would stop Hitler, and he's Hitler according to them, their rhetoric is getting shriller and shriller. Do not be surprised when it turns to violence. And here's the thing. It's not going to just be violence against Republicans. It's going to be against the man on the plane wearing the MAGA hat. It's going to be against the mother with the child who's at the pro-life rally. It's going to be against you and me. The Democrats, when they begin to see the other side as the enemy, as the enablers of Hitler, they can't just stop Hitler. They got to stop the enablers as well. They're coming for all of us if we're not careful, if their politicians aren't careful with their shrill rhetoric. Welcome back. It's Erick Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425. Do not forget to text the word Erick, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. You can get the show notes, the live stream, the podcast, the social media links. If you go to Instagram, text Erick to 33777. Go follow me on Instagram. You can see the link to order your ticket to the Not Safe for Radio show. We got a lot of stuff happening, but right now I want to play you this audio, and this is from Michael Tomasky. He was on MSNBC. If you'll remember that it was a hotbed. MSNBC was, before the election, was a hotbed of Donald Trump's a fascist. You got to stop him. You got to do everything you can to stop him before he takes over. He's an authoritarian. He'll never leave office. And now we're back to this. Okay. So by that definition, was it fascism when American democracies in the 50 states elected legislatures and governors that decided boys needed to not be in girls' sports, and the Biden administration withheld federal funding and cut school lunch programs for poor kids until states backed down? Was it fascism when the Supreme Court told Joe Biden he couldn't forgive student loans, and he went and tried to find a new way to do it anyway, to defy the Supreme Court, and they had to tell him again, no, you can't do that? I mean, were these things fascism? Was it fascism when they sided with the rioters against the police around the country, when they sent in civil rights investigators to get their way with states? Was that fascism, or is it only when Republicans do what Democrats have done? Now, I want you to go to Swiss America and get from them their free report, The Secret War on Cash, because, well, there is this war on cash going on right now from the government that is trying to regulate how you spend your money. Swiss America is rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. They can educate you on protecting your assets. Their report takes less than 15 minutes to read, and it can save on your retirement and finances. To get a free copy, you call or text my name, Erick, E-R-I-C-K, to 800-289-2646. The All-Out War on Cash includes digital forms of currency. It's growing. So go read The Secret War on Cash. It is completely free. Takes less than 15 minutes to read. All you do, mention Erick, E-R-I-C-K. Call or text 800-289-2646. Just text my name, Erick, to 800-289-2646. Follow the link back that they'll send you. The report is free, 800-289-2646. Swiss America can help you. Message and data rates may apply. Hello, my friends. It is Erick Erickson here, the continent of North America. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, if you text DATA, DATA, to 33777, you can get the live stream. You can get the show notes. You can get a discount on the show notes. All the stuff that I talk about on the show and then some comes in the show notes. So you never have to just take my word for it. You can read the stuff yourself. I want to play you some audio here from Chuck Todd, who used to be the host of Meet the Press on MSNBC and NBC. He got frustrated with his network, decided not to stick around. The network was always a little skeptical of him. In fact, I heard him say the other day that they were always scared of the questions he might ask. This is Chuck Todd saying something more frank than I think he's ever wanted to say, ever he could say, working for NBC. You know, side note, when Tim Russert died and they were looking for a replacement on Meet the Press, I know one of the individuals who NBC seriously looked at and then concluded that because the person's background was in Republican politics, they weren't qualified to do the job. So they went with Chuck. Now, that's not to slight Chuck. That's just to say there's clearly an institutional bias at NBC for the Democrats. The nation network that runs MSNBC would, of course. And so I do think, because I've had private conversations with Chuck over the years on NBC, behind the scenes. And yeah, I think there were concerns about him at NBC that oftentimes he couldn't say things as much as he wanted to say. And you know, with my own example, I was a regular guest on Meet the Press until the moment I said I would vote for Donald Trump again. In 2019, when I said that I would be voting for Donald Trump in the 2020 election, I was abruptly canceled from Meet the Press and never got invited back. And that, by the way, it's not Chuck's fault. Don't blame Chuck at all. It was not him. That was not his decision. He fought to have me come back on. This is him now on CNN talking about the Democrats. You know, oh, yes, he's right. Yeah, they technically had primaries, but the deck was always stacked against Bernie Sanders against Hillary Clinton. The deck was always stacked against Bernie Sanders, everybody else against Joe Biden. And then they swung for Kamala Harris. You know, ironically, you know, the two Democratic politicians in America, the most powerful Democrats in America who were opposed to Kamala Harris, it's a true story. Books will be written. I know it is true. I know, I will just tell you, I know for certain it is true that Barack Obama and Nancy Pelosi were opposed to Kamala Harris being given the nomination. Both of them thought she did not have what it took to be president. They were right. They were proven right. Pelosi has all but said that since. Barack Obama, too, has largely confirmed he was opposed to giving it to Kamala Harris. Joe Biden has said Barack Obama did not want it to go to Kamala Harris, wanted to find a way to mount a mini primary to make sure it wasn't Kamala Harris. But Joe Biden helped his vice president, loyal to a fault, loyal to the end, loyal off a cliff with Kamala Harris. And the Democrats, what have they decided? They've decided to double down on the stuff that doesn't matter. And look at so much of the media too. And yeah, I'm going to beat up a little bit on CNN here because I respect so many people at that network. Have a lot of friends there. It's where I got my start on television. But look at CNN. Just follow along with me here. CNN, when it does stories about boys and girls sports, editorially takes the side against the girls. Editorially, CNN believes that trans women are women. Editorially, CNN believed that Ron DeSantis' legislation was the Don't Say Gay bill. CNN is out of step culturally, even with Democrats, because even a significant number of Democrats, roughly a majority of Democrats in Florida, supported Ron DeSantis' legislation. The overwhelming majority of Americans do not support boys and girls sports, but CNN is in the minority there, but that's where the heart of the Democratic Party is. So that's where the people who shape the news are. And it is really hard, if you're in the Democratic Party, to get some level of self-awareness about the Democratic Party, in large part because so much of the media is to the left of where the mainstream Democrats are. And that's something I think a lot of you might not realize. It is a truth. You're just going to have to take my word for it to some degree, but I got to tell you, I know a lot of these people. And the Democratic Party base is not as progressive as many mainstream media reporters. Many mainstream media reporters see Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez as the center of the party and Nancy Pelosi as a conservative. They see Barack Obama as a conservative to moderate Democrat because they're so far to the left. And these people shape the news. They run the editorial board meetings. They run the production crews. They write the scripts. They pick the guests. And they're to the far left. So they're never going to be the ones, even though they're the most influential part of the Democratic Party because they're the median, they're in the same bubble with the Democrats. They're never going to be the ones to say, hey, guys, maybe we should do some self-reflection on why the American people don't like it. Sure, Donald Trump, I'm not going to say the polling is wrong. I'm going to take the polling average. The polling average, Donald Trump's popularity is roughly 43%. Still better than Joe Biden was. But about 43% of Americans like him. Now, that's, 80 some odd percent is Republican support. The Republicans aren't wavering. Again, like I said yesterday, I know lots of people who are upset with Donald Trump for things. People who voted for him, they're upset with him on tariffs. They're upset with him on this thing or that thing. But none of them say, I guess I should have voted for Harris. No, they'd all stand by their man. They still will. They still prefer Donald Trump. But none of these people in the Democratic Party are looking at this and saying, yeah, he's got 43%. He's unpopular. Why are we at 29%? Because he is at 43 in the average, and in the average, they're at 29%. And what they say is, well, we're just not fighting hard. That's J.D. Pritzker. Or J.B. Pritzker. It's we got to fight harder. We got to stand in the streets. We got to protest. We got to go harass them everywhere they go. They can't have a moment of peace in our land. People don't like to vote for biblical donkeys. People really hate a-holes. And the Democrats have decided that's what they've got to be. This is one of my concerns with Republicans these days. In all honesty, in all frankness, one of my concerns with a lot of the social media right these days is that they have decided to be as nasty as the Democrats, and they perceive the Democrats winning by being nasty. And actually, the American people are rejecting the nasty people for the people in their minds they think are actually more pleasant. Donald Trump made them laugh in 2024. Joe Biden just yelled at them all the time and slurred his words. You offer a positive alternative and an upbeat message to Americans in these times, a hopeful message, they're probably going to resonate with you. Donald Trump offered the hopeful message in 2024, but a lot of the social media reporters are like, Donald Trump, he throws it in their face, he punches, he fights, he's a fighter. But Trump didn't always do that. He made you laugh. He worked the room at McDonald's. He made people laugh. He got in the dump truck or the garbage truck. And the Democrats, they get in the streets and they stand in front of burning buildings and they say, well, there's just a lot of passion. There's not passion, there's violence. And Donald Trump got that. Happy warriors tend to win. And that's my caution to the young bucks of the GOP who want to be out there and say, we want the power. We want to use the power. We want the power for the power's sake. There's no such thing as permanence in politics in America, so get rid of the power, but also don't be brain biblical donkeys, so to speak. And the public is going to stand with you a lot longer than the public would stand with the Democrats. You got J.B. Pritzker out there telling people, get in the streets, be nasty, be mean. You go out there and you smile and you laugh at the Democrats, laugh at the they-thems. I still think, and the Democrats have concluded, and this is one of the wild things about the Democrats right now, that this Chuck Todd didn't get to this point there in that clip I played, but it's a relevant point here. The Democrats understand that one of the most effective ads run in the 2024 campaign was Donald Trump's ad that ended, Kamala Harris is for they-them, and Donald Trump is for you. And the Democrats can't walk away from the trans community because so many of their billionaire donors have kids who've decided they're trans because they're narcissists suffering from mental health issues. Got to make it all about them. I need you to say my proper pronouns. My proper pronouns are ze, zer, glue. Humoring the narcissists. That's why the Democrats can't walk away. They know it's a poison pill for them. They know. Chuck Todd says we need to go focus group. If someone stopped drinking Coke, Coke would go out and find out, hey, why'd you stop drinking my product? The Democrats, you have all these people losing, walking away from the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party, instead of going to them and saying, hey, why are you walking away from the Democratic Party? The Democratic Party says, we need more Zers. We need to stand by the its. The they-thems of the world, yes. The Democrats are for the they-thems of the world. Donald Trump is for you. That message continues to resonate as the Democratic Party continues to go downhill on this stuff. They just cannot, they lack the humility to recognize their rejection. And in lacking their humility and their inability to recognize their rejection, they're going to keep getting rejected. I don't know about y'all, but I'm okay with that. I'm also okay with you going to Vision Computers today and letting them build a computer for you. They can build a fantastic computer for you. Vision Computers will build you a computer. They will be your tech support. My son last night, y'all, I'm not a Windows guy. My son had a problem last night. And he's like his web browser wasn't opening any web page. And I knew it was an antivirus problem on his computer. I knew that's what it was because it happened to my father-in-law, but he's got a newer Mac, or he's got a newer Windows machine, his gaming PC. I couldn't figure out how to do it. And he's like, well, I guess I will email Vision Computer and let them help me. He misplaced the number last night. He emailed Vision. This was at 9:30 last night. His phone rang. He said, I got a spam caller. They keep calling me. I said, are you sure it's a spam caller? I said, maybe it's Vision. He says, they don't work at night. I said, son, they work 24/7, 365. He answered the phone. Someone from Vision Computer was on the phone, said, are you by your computer? He said, give me a minute. Went upstairs, had it fixed in less than like a minute and a half. It was some easy fix. It was a toggle in an antivirus program. And I was looking, he had 2 programs on his computer. I didn't realize he had the other one going. I kind of kicked myself, but literally, I mean, he sent them an email. He's like, well, I guess I'll hear from him tomorrow. They called him like 9:30 last night. That's the sort of quality customer service you get from Vision Computer when you buy a computer from them, or you can just pay them for the customer service. It's $179 a year per computer, and they'll help anybody nationwide. You're in Hawaii listening right now on that station that my team hasn't yet gotten me, but they're going to get me. So I have a tax-exempt excuse or tax-deductible excuse to go to Hawaii. You're listening out there in Honolulu. You can order a computer from Vision Computers for just their service, and they will take care of you too. You're up in Alaska, in Anchorage, where we're going to come visit one day. They're going to take care of you down there in Palm Beach, where we're on the radio. You're listening to me live right now. They'll take care of you too. Anyone nationwide, any business nationwide. 404-COMPUTE. That's the number you call. 404-COMPUTE, or go to visioncomputers.com. 404-COMPUTE or visioncomputers.com. If you tell them I sent you when you call 404-COMPUTE, you'll save even more money.